Alright, welcome back for the last video of section 4. Now we're going to talk about taking a measurement. So when we're talking about taking measurements, we're talking about using tools to actually take measurements. And this can be done with digital instruments or with what are known as analog instruments. Digital instruments do all the work for you. Huzzah. Okay, well, not all the work, but they do a lot of the work. They report the number, you write down the number. The thing to remember is that every measurement is, to some degree, uncertain. It's not perfect. Okay? The only thing you can be absolutely certain about is when you're doing a direct count of a small number of objects. Okay, for example, I am absolutely certain that there are 4 chairs in my room right now. Okay, that is a perfect count, a perfect number. But how much does my chair weigh? I'm going to have to measure that. Okay? So every measurement is in some degree uncertain. So when you have a digital measurement, like when you're using a scale or a balance or a more fancy and therefore expensive piece of equipment, the uncertainty is going to be in the last digit it provides. How uncertain that last digit is depends on the machine. Okay? But still, go ahead, write down that last digit. And be aware that that's where your uncertainty is. Okay, that's where things get a little bit fuzzy, a little bit hazy. And also, be certain you know what units the machine is reporting. And then, write those down. Okay, remember, every measurement, number, magnitude, and units. You need all of those. Digital measurements, they do a lot of the work for you, but not all of it. And always, always write it down. Analog measurements, that's when you're using things that have markers on them and you actually have to read them. Okay. So, no matter what kind of device you're using, you line up the device, you read it very, very carefully, and then you're going to have to make an estimate. Okay? Because it's never going to be the case that the thing you're measuring is going to fall exactly on the marker line. And even if it did, you can't be certain that it actually is. Okay, there's human error, and the device isn't going to be perfect. There's no such thing as perfect. So what you do is you look at where the line falls, where the measurement falls, and you make an estimate. So over here, we're looking at fluid in a graduated cylinder. And that graduated cylinder is reading, that the fluid is somewhere between 35 mils and 40 mils. 35 milliliters, 40 milliliters. So we have 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Okay. So the actual level of the fluid falls somewhere between the 36 line and the 37 line. So we have to make our estimate. And it looks like it's about 36.4 milliliters. Maybe 36.5. So that is where your uncertainty is. Read to the last line and then make your estimate between them. So your analog device will report some number, sort of. The lines will take you to some digit, and then you make an estimate 1 decimal beyond that. So when you record the level of this fluid, it's going to be 36.5 milliliters. Okay? If you just recorded 36 or 37, you wouldn't be getting the full utility of the device. You wouldn't be getting as good a measurement as you could. Once again, there's still some uncertainty. Okay? Your measurement isn't perfect, the device isn't perfect, your estimate isn't perfect, but you should get that estimate. Get that last decimal place. It really helps. Okay. And finally, I want to repeat this. If you don't write it down, it didn't happen. Your memory is garbage. It is a garbage fire with diaper poop in it. Okay? You might think you have a great memory, and you probably do, but a lot of stuff happens in any chemistry lab or, if you're doing work at home, it doesn't matter. Okay? A lot of stuff is happening. There's a lot of information flying around out there. Lots of numbers, lots of units. Write it all down. Write it down carefully. Write down all the numbers, write down the measurements, write down the units, And write down what you are measuring. Don't just write a random number on a piece of paper and expect that you know what you were talking about. Write down what you are measuring and when you are measuring it. Always, always write it down. Remember, science is somewhat unnatural. If it were easy, kids would do it. And that does it for Section 4. See you next time.